Hey, welcome back to another exciting, head scratching episode of Insane Disappearances. Yeah, there's actually a feature on here that I could use, to help me, but it becomes unselective. When you press the record button. So I won't be able to use it. I was kind of mad because I wanted to kind of zoom in every time I said insane disappearances, but now I can't. So gotta just deal with what I got. All right. So what I want to talk about today is a couple of things. First off, talk about what's in the news today. And top of the news would be the information that surfaced on Facebook, where there is now 5 million signers to a petition to storm Area 51. Can you believe it, folks? Now, it was said that it started out as a hoax, but it quickly became something a little different than that. It wasn't a hoax anymore. It became serious because more people started signing up. Now, this is the most prolonged hoax I've ever seen in my freaking life. Okay? I've seen some hoaxes before that died out the minute you found out about it. Okay? But this is serious because people want to know. They want to see what's behind those bunkers. They want to see where all those lights went when they went down in the area where Area 51, resides. But storming the gates, we're talking about people who have alien technology. So that means they probably have alien weapons, which they do. And they're not aliens, they're interdimensional beings. Okay, alien is just a label. The interdimensional being part is the natural way of saying what they are. So, anyway. But, come on, guys. Really? Storming the gates of a high security installation? Yeah, okay, so you've seen UFOs flying overhead. You've seen testings. You've seen a lot of stuff. Right up until they bought all the mountain ranges around that darn thing. So now you can't even get over there. But for you to storm the gates, first of all, you wouldn't even get as far as that sign that says no trespassing. We'll use deadly force if necessary. So that means they will have guys on the top of that hill that you always see in those documentaries about Area 51, where you see a little Jeep sitting right there, and you see a guy getting out with some binoculars going like this here, and then all of a sudden you see him kind of get back in, come back out, and then you see him in the corner going like this. Okay, they already heard about y'all. Okay, first of all, you would never even get past the point that you're not supposed to cross without being shot first. And if you're running or you're trying to bum rush the area with a bunch of cars, I'm pretty sure they got landmines too. And if they don't, they probably do now because of what you said or because of what y'all started. There's going to be some deaths in this thing, people. I'm just saying, if it turns out to not be a hoax in the end. It started off as a hoax, but I don't think it's going to end as a hoax. If people keep signing up on that thing. Because they really want to do this. They want to be a part of that scene in Independence Day where all those cars and RVs and, trucks and all kinds of crap. All these guys was coming down the Nevada desert, Groom Lake, trying to get to Area 51. To get away from all the destruction in the city, They had no other choice but to let them in, so they saw all the crazy stuff that exists probably like 400 or 500 feet on the ground. Just saying. Okay, but like I said, well, actually I didn't say this before, but all this kind of surfaced right after Independence Day, July 4th. You know, well, at least I didn't hear about it until after July 4th. You know, a lot of crazy things happened to me on July 4th. Like I seen maybe two UFOs and a very unidentified bright light that looked like a cylindrical object that was glowing so bright that it started to flicker, and then it actually got longer, or it went down. I'm looking at this here with my own two eyes. You know, it was just that big enough for me to see it in action. So it gets longer, and it looked like it had something gold on one side of it, and the rest of it was white. And then it just started to glow brighter and brighter and brighter until it flickered, and then it went like this and turned and went towards the dark layer of our atmosphere. Yes, the part that I mentioned way before I had a video about it. I'm just saying. But anyway, yeah, saw that, and I saw, this is the even crazier part. The night after Independence Day, there was a UFO moving inside the cloud cover over my house, just like how it did in Independence Day. Now, I'm not saying that it came out of the clouds the way it did in Independence Day, you know, right over, the Golden Gate Bridge, but I could actually see it moving in the clouds because the clouds started to buckle and flow underneath it. You could tell there was a large mass in the way that was causing it to do all that. And I'm looking at this thing, and no, I did not get a picture. Okay, you have one of those moments where it's so like awing. It's like you can't help but just get mesmerized by it, and then by the time you think to use a photo, or try to get a photo, it's too late. I was like, man, because that happened to me a lot. Okay, it's only here recently that I actually started taking photos, because I actually caught a photo of a UFO over my house in a diagonal position, but it was blocked by a bunch of clouds, but I could still tell by the shape of it. It had kind of like an oval shape like thing going on with it. But anyway, okay, 1 second. Give me 1 second, and I'll punch it up. I'll show you, because I know that's what you guys are thinking. Okay, give me a second here. I got a lot of photos on my phone. I take a lot of photos. Make sure I got the right one. No, not that one. I think. No, that's not it. Almost there. Here we go. Now, this may not look like much to you guys, but with this being directly over my house and what I saw, you could see how the clouds just kind of float around it like there's something in the way, like it's like an oval shaped, like it's curved. Okay. But it was very big, and I could tell it was pointed down. And at one point, you almost didn't see it as it took off, because they don't make any sound. Okay. And all of a sudden I saw the clouds just kind of like shoot off in the direction that it went, in a streak, because that force of the takeoff makes the clouds following behind it, so it was pretty awesome. I saw a lot of crazy things right after the 4th, man. I mean, almost back to back. Oh, and the even crazier part was seeing a disc directly over my head in front of my house, cloaking itself, but I could still see the shape of its mass. Don't ask me why, but I can see through the cloak for some reason. It may be the clouds, I don't know, reflecting off of whatever was making it cloak. I don't know. All I know is I saw it, and it was kind of, oh man, I can't even describe that, because it's that I hear people saying that when they came in contact with a gray, They didn't feel like they felt soulless. And I kind of felt that blank feeling coming from that craft. I'm not saying it was an evil feeling, but it's just a different species of being that operates differently than we do. So we may not understand their emotion if they have emotion. They may operate on a different level when it comes to that. So we may not be able to pick up on it because we're not familiar with who they are and what they're all about and what they're capable of, even if they are the good ones. I'm pretty sure they feel the same way. But you don't feel fright. You just feel like you just don't feel anything at all. You just don't feel scared. It's weird, but I can tell the difference. But anyway. Okay, moving on to the topic at hand here. It's already been 10 minutes. I'm rattling on about all this stuff. But I want to get to the main event here. The main topic is about a young man, 39 years old. Name is Todd, not Gaib, but Sees. Todd Sees. Now, this is, if you heard about it, is a famous UFO incident UFO abduction incident that was compiled with a lot of missing 411 criteria. Now, this happened on August 8th of 2002. The only photo they had of him was a 1970s photo of him from, I think, maybe college or high school, because it was a class photo. But anyway, the location is in Point Township of Pennsylvania. Now, once again, this 39-year-old Pennsylvania man, hunter and outdoorsman, he wakes up, before dawn and decides he wants to go deer spotting on Montour Ridge. Now, this is a mountain range that's behind his house, in Point Township of Northumberland County of Pennsylvania. Now, he leaves the house around 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay, he tells his wife that he'll be back, around noon. He gets on his ATV and rides off up to this, tree break, where, there's power lines that run. He is the son of a farmer. He's also a family man, a Little League coach, and a father of 2. He also has a son. So, of course, his son is one of the 2. He failed to come home at the presented time, which was at noon. His wife gets a little worried about that part because he should have been back. He's never not been back before. I'm pretty sure if he said he's going to come back at a certain time, he may be a little late, but he'll be like maybe 10, maybe 15 minutes late. Depending, he probably stopped off to get something to eat, maybe, or something to drink, so that he won't be too hungry trying to drive home or whatever. He did what he had to do. All of a sudden, bam, poof, he doesn't come home. Very unsettling. So she didn't feel right about that. Her instincts told her to call the police, and she did. And when she did that, I'd say it was, shortly after that, his son goes out to look for him himself. Now, he goes out and he finds his father's four-wheeler abandoned at the top of this ridge that he was going up. Now, this is only 2 miles away from their house. 2 miles. It's not that very far. Okay? But what made him get out the car? Now, there have been stories of people getting out of the car for some apparent reason where they'll find their car abandoned on the side of a road. Window down, snow falling all in it, leaves all in it and everything. Their belongings are still in the car. But somehow you got out the car and you never came back. So, my thing is, why? Why would you get out the car? Now, I did hear What? It wasn't. Well, it says four wheeler, so it wasn't a four wheeler. It was the ATV. Now I did hear that four wheelers do have small tanks. So if you are traveling at a certain speed to make good time into a certain area, you're gonna burn out the gas. So maybe he ran out of gas, so he gets off and he walks the rest of the way. So that would be your logical answer for that, if that's what it was. But we're getting to that part to make you understand what could have also happened, which is also a very huge criteria in some other cases. But we'll get to that part in a little bit. All right, so he gets off his four-wheeler and he starts walking. Obviously, he didn't have nowhere else. He didn't have no other way to get to where he was trying to go. So 2 miles, like I said, it's about 2 miles away from his house where he found the four-wheeler. Okay. Now by 2:30 p.m., a large search ensued. A team had been mobilized. They discovered no footprints leading away from the ATV, though. That was the crazy part. So, how is it that you abandoned the ATV, but there was no footprints leading away from it? I mean, did you jump off and then suddenly you just never landed on the ground? You just kept going? Think about it. I mean, obviously, a little overzealous with the jumping off the ATV part. But like I said, when they saw that, that's when things got a little weird. Couldn't find the footprints leading to the darn ATV, and they couldn't find a scent for the dogs to track the guy down. Why is that? Get into that in a second. All right. Now, over 200 volunteers and rescue personnel continued combing the area with dogs, skin divers, who's searching nearby. Well, that was a period, and combing the area, with dogs. Now, skin divers, search the area nearby. So they search a nearby pond. My bad. They search a nearby pond, and the others scour the 6 mile radius. They scour a 6 mile radius, for any sign of this man. Todd sees. Day 1 ends with C's still missing. They never found him, and I'm pretty sure they did a pretty good and a pretty bang up job trying to find him. But to no avail. They failed, and I'm pretty sure they felt like that. But it gets weirder. Now, the search continues throughout the following day around 8 p.m. On the second night, someone spots a patch of white in the woods near the pond. A mere 450, I would say, feet from, or I think they said it was like two. It was like two. They said 2 miles. So it was 2 miles. That means 450 feet, I would imagine. Okay, so yeah, about 450 feet from, or yards, because I think they said 2 yards away or 2 miles away. But anyway, so it's about 400 something yards or feet, from the residence. Now, local firemen, they are frantically cutting through or feverishly cutting through this brush that they got to cut through to get to where this white spot was. Okay. Now, if it was him, here's another criteria. He was placed in an area that was so hard to get to. So how is it that he walked to get there? If he did, his feet would be destroyed. So would his legs, because they'd be all cut up from the branches and the thorns or whatever else is out there. Even the real thick, sharp leaves. Okay. Sorry for not looking at the camera. I get a little excited. I just start looking everywhere. I get melodramatic. I talk with my hands a lot too. Add a little pizzazz to the viewing capability. But anyway, but yeah. So all these things, all these questions. If it's him, why would he walk and all the way through all that stuff? That's a lot of walking and a lot of stepping over, which you wouldn't get very far because that would hurt. And if he did, he's a trooper. I'm just saying. But if he didn't, that means he was put in that area by something. It just makes you think that's what he did because they couldn't think of anything else on how he could have got there unless he flowed downstream. There wasn't any evidence of him being in the water, so they didn't know what to think. So moving on. All right. Now it says here. Like I said, they cut in the path through all this thick brush, and in a dense bramble, they find the dead body of Todd Seas. So it was him. Now, witnesses describe him as dressed only in his boxers. And in his boxers, emaciated and wearing a countenance of object terror. Okay? Now, it makes me think that his face was looking like he was in complete fright. Okay? Now, what kind of fright could you have been going through for you to be looking like that? You saw something, obviously, that frightened you to death. Or, because think about it, there was no cause of death on the body. Yet, a person was frightened so hard and so much that it literally killed him. They came up with all kinds of stuff like, it was a cocaine overdose. Second coroner did the same thing the first one did. The first one was a guy named James Kelly, which makes me think of Jim Kelly, but I'm not going to get into that because earlier I was laughing, but that was on a previous video that I cut because it just didn't come out the way I wanted it. But this guy named James Kelly did the first autopsy. A second guy comes in and does it, stating that there was no cocaine in his system. So why did they say that? I can tell you why. Because the way they found the body, anytime they find a body in a weird way, or in a weird position, with no cause of death, they don't know what to say to anybody. They got to come up with something. So they say hypothermia, or in this case, cocaine overdose. Or they'll say something like accidental drowning or whatever. Okay? Or they fell to their death, which would explain why your brains were scattered all over the rocky floor. But yet, you were at least a good couple of yards away from the cliff drop. This is another story about something like that, So just coming up with some, similarities. Okay. But yeah, like I said, that was the crazy part. Well, that's where the crazy part started. And it gets even weirder when they interview 3 farmers and a fisherman. Now, according to one of the reports that came up after the toxicology report, the toxicology report became improbable. The toxicology as the probable cause of death. Like I said, they say it was cocaine because at first it was inconclusive. They couldn't find the cause of death. Okay, so like I said, they had to find something in there in order to appease the parents. Because he couldn't find anything external or internal to state that something happened to that man. So it's crazy. Now, here's the part where it gets crazy even more. One of Todd's shoes, his boots, was found 75 feet up in the tree, in the branches area, not near the trunk, like as if he was climbing a tree, and it probably slipped off as he fell, if that was the case, and it probably got hung on the tree near the trunk. That didn't happen, because that's not where it was. It was in the middle of the branch portion of the tree where all the leaves grow. How and why? I'm getting to that part. Now, at 5:30 a.m. on the morning in question, 3 nearby farmers and a fisherman on the Susquehanna River witnessed a dark disk UFO over Montour Ridge. Let's see. Now it says here, an anonymously filed, mistakenly dated report to this effect was submitted later in August 2002 to the National UFO Reporting Center. Additional reports provide even stranger details. Now, I'm going to get to the part where the fishermen are talking about what they saw. This is the part where it really gets strange. I had to scroll down all the way here. Let me see. Make sure I'm in the right area. Because I want to read the report about the fishermen and the 3 farmers. Okay. Because I was looking at it earlier. I just want to make sure I get back to the right place. Okay. Right. Let me see. Oh, that's too far down. But okay, let me see. Up here, okay, here we go. This is it right here. But first, I wanted to say how when the new guy who did the second autopsy report brought the body back to the family, he brought it back to the family in a sealed casket, and he told them it is of his best advice that you do not open that casket, because he looked a hot mess. Now, there's a report in here that showed how the body looked. It was saying how it looked like he was stung by a bunch of bees. Yet the body was, I think they said it looked like real pale. It had a really strange color to the skin. And like I said, he was cold to the touch. So he probably was drained of all of his blood too. So yeah, it's a lot of strange stuff. But like I said, that's in the report. But I want to get to this one right here, where they were interviewing the farmers. Now, to start this off, I'm going to read to you how it all began. It says here, occurred 8/04/2002 at 5:30, entered as 8/06/2002, 5:30 p.m. Reported 8/25/02, 9:04 p.m. 21:04 for military time. Posted, blah 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 blah, da da da. Okay, now we'll post it. 9/13/02. Location: Northumberland, PA. That's Pennsylvania. Shape: disc. Duration: unknown. Farmer saw an object, but not just a farmer. 3 farmers saw an object above Montour Ridge at the power lines on the top of the mountain. It was round and very still over the lines. Excuse me. Suddenly, it moved what looked like a few hundred feet to the east and stopped, and a beam of blue and white light shined to the ground. Okay, this is where it gets crazy. What was seen next was very unnerving. He saw what appeared to be a man suspended in the light. He was being pulled up head first. He was moving his arms slowly in the light. What looked like a man was pulled up into the bottom of the craft. A few seconds later, and it started shuddering, then went west very fast, stopping briefly, then went straight up and out of sight. 2 days later, a naked body, except for his underwear, was found. The man found the road up the power lines looking for deer signs at about 5 a.m. His four-wheeler was 2 miles from where his body was found in thick brush. His clothes were never found. Bloodhounds never got a scent past the four-wheeler. The papers are not telling the whole story. No kidding. They are not mentioning he was. Okay, this is the part where they come in. Considerably. Let me see. They are not mentioning he was. Okay, it said they're not mentioning he was, and then it said it's got a period right there. Okay. Let me see. Okay, yeah, this is just like a bunch of stuff from the reports that they gathered, from the interviews, with the wife and and the friends and the family and all that stuff. But yeah, so my guess is the fact that they said they found the ATV, the four-wheeler, 2 miles away from where he was last, let me see, 2 miles away they found his body. Okay, so that means if they found the ATV abandoned the way they found it at 2 miles away from the house, that means he was abducted off of the ATV. And they said that they found his boot in a tree 75 feet up. So as he was going up in this beam, when they say his arms was going like this here and all that stuff, real slow. Obviously, as he was going up, he went through a patch of branches, in that tree, and his boot probably came off, and it wasn't tight enough, because when you walk in work boots over time, the shoelaces do loosen up. I know. I hate that part because you start flopping in your shoes, So that might have been what happened. Okay, his boot came off, and it got hung on the branch of that tree, and he just kept going. Went in there, they did what they had to do with him. They sucked him dry. Well, not in so many words, but they sucked him dry of all his blood, I would imagine, and then they just tossed him back on Earth. I mean, what else can I say? He was bone dry, obviously, in the condition of his body. That's what I want to talk about. I want to find that part where they talk about the condition of the body. Saying how he looked like he was stung by a bunch of bees. Because I read that earlier too. But I gotta go up a little further. But it sure did say that. Talking about how it looked like he got stung by a bunch of bees, but I want to make sure I get everything in. he was wearing on his boxers. Okay, here we go. There was a spot on his right forehead that was showing signs of decay. The rest of his body was intact. He was holding his throat, suffocating. And an allergic reaction to bee venom could have caused his throat to close, and he might have suffocated, but no bee stings found. See, I'm gonna get to that part in a second. And why call in the FBI for bee and snake bite? For a bee and snake bite, he had a red rag tied around his right arm, and kind of like the Red Ribbon Army, in Dragon Ball Z. But anyway, let's see around his right arm, and there was a dead rattlesnake beside him. They expected to find puncture wounds from a snake bite, but there were no puncture wounds anywhere. If he'd been, they tried to say if he'd been snake bitten, another typo, there would be a good sized blackened area. Necrotic tissue. Okay, but anyway, this is that part about the. Okay, now they're saying he's 38. They said up at the top he was 39. I need to get the facts straight. Okay, but anyway, so that is this thing. That's the thing about when they found his body, they found him, holding his throat, dead. He died doing this, so he basically suffocated to death. Okay, now they said it looked like he could have got stung by bees. But there was no signs of bee stings on his body. So here's my theory. And you know me, my theories get weird. I'm thinking that they had him somewhere where they sucked the air out of whatever room he was in, and he suffocated to death. Or they threw him into space, and then when they saw him die at that point, they retrieved the body and tossed him back to the earth. Because they said his body was cold to the touch. So I'm thinking that, like I said, they put him in the vacuum of space. He froze instantly, going like this here. Because I'm pretty sure he probably would have been. I'm pretty sure his insides would have been inflamed too, because his body would have been tightening up, trying to. Muscles probably tightened up trying to figure out how he's going to be able to breathe, and he's going through all these convulsions and everything because all the air is literally being sucked out of his body. And then all of a sudden he's like this. But he was like this because he couldn't breathe. So he was like, so he literally died in this frozen position. So I'm thinking that's what it was. And by the time they brought his body back to the earth, his body had unthawed by then. But there would have been signs of frozen parts in his body. Still, I would imagine, even in the guts and all that stuff. So I don't think that had anything to do with it. But it was a nice little theory because couldn't help but think about it. But could have been a snake bite because a friend of mine was telling me that a snake bite, some of the snake bites actually heal, and it just looks like a very old scar from the past. So I don't know. Could be. If that's what it was, a snake bite that caused him to suffocate to death. Oh, man. But yeah, so a lot of weird stuff about this case. And that was the crazy part where, about what the farmers saw. They literally saw him get abducted by that craft. And was pulled into it. So, for the first time, somebody actually saw it. But people always look for video. They always say, why didn't you get a video? Okay, first of all, I didn't know somebody was gonna be abducted that night, and I'm not into the whole UFO thing. That would be their answer to that question, because people was asking me the same thing. Because I had some video of what was going on that night when I saw those crafts, and I had pictures, but I just had the one that was more prominent than the other. So they would say, "Why didn't you should have used this? You should have used that." I said, "Well, the resolution was very crappy, so I can only give it so much, even with the video. That's why I didn't even post it, because the video was crappy, So, but anyway, guys, that is the story about that guy, and that's a pretty crazy story. How he was found and how he disappeared, and how all of this stuff kind of fits in with Missing 411. But it was actually an alien abduction case. So there you go. There you have it. So, without further ado, I'm going to get off of here. Let you guys enjoy the rest of your day, since it's the weekend. I know you don't want to be hearing me rambling on about a bunch of stuff. So, but yeah, I did want to leave you guys with some inspirational words from one of my many quotes. I would just have to find the right one for you guys. I know I can. Here's my thing. Do you think it is possible for you to actually grasp a concept your mind usually cannot process? I want all you guys to think about that. Can you grasp a concept your mind usually cannot process? If you can, hit me up in the comment section. Just say yay or nay, So, because like I said, these videos and these here are going to get deeper and deeper. Okay, and I will share a lot of these with you guys when I have the time to. So, without further ado, as usual, I'm going to get off of here. But at first, I'm going to wish you guys a very happy weekend. And I am going to end it the way I always do. And you know how I do it every single time. You do. I know you love it. I'm going to do it anyway, even if you don't. I'm going to say aloha, mahalo with the shaka, and hui ho. Peace out, brother, and peace out, wahine.